Good morning, everybody. Today we're in the cake unit, so we will be making some angel food cake. And angel food cake is a foam cake, and the basis of that cake is egg whites. So what I'm first going to show you how to do is how to separate an egg. All right, and you always want to separate your egg into a container, and you want to just transfer the white, or the fancy name is the albumin, into one container, okay? And then your yolk into another. So this recipe calls for a dozen egg whites, and I have already separated my egg whites. Now, when you're making egg whites, they always whip best when they are at a little cooler. So I take them out of the fridge and I just let them sit out for an hour. I am using my KitchenAid to measure, and I'm just gonna put that in, and I'm gonna get my whisk attachment. Okay. Now with your egg whites, what you can do is you can take your egg whites and you can put them into a container like this, and then just label how many egg whites you have in there, and they can be frozen, okay, which is nice because sometimes if you make a recipe and it calls for lots of yolks, you're like, all right, what am I gonna do with all those whites? And if you're not gonna use them right away, like I said, take them, put them in a container, label them, and freeze them. So we are gonna start on like medium high. And when you're whipping egg whites, they're gonna go through some different stages, all right? The first stage is the frothy stage. And in that stage, you're gonna notice that all of these bubbles are coming to the surface. Now, you're not gonna add anything at this stage. You're gonna wait until it gets a little bit frothier, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some cream of tartar. What is cream of tartar? It is a stabilizer, and according to the recipe, it says I need 1.5 teaspoons. So I'm going to measure that. That's 1. And that is 1/2. So if you notice in the mixer, it's changed from a like translucent to a whitish. There's a little bit of bubbles in there. So now I'm going to add my cream of tartar. I'm gonna increase the speed a little bit. And then the other ingredients that I have is 1 cup of granulated sugar. And if you add sugar to egg whites, it actually increases the speed, and you may not get to like a beautiful like soft peak. So we're actually gonna wait maybe a minute or so before we add that. We're gonna add some vanilla, and we're also gonna add some lemon zest. I've washed my lemon, okay? And I'm gonna use this tool. This tool is called a microplane. And it just basically takes the surface of that lemon, which is the outside zest. If you don't have this, you can use a grater, you can use a vegetable peeler, and then just cut off what you need. But I like the microplane because it's really nice and fine. Okay. And you're just kind of turning. All right, so I'm gonna tap that out. Now, if you notice, my egg whites are becoming a little bit softer, and those like little foam particles are getting a little bit smaller. So now I'm gonna gradually add my sugar, okay? And I'll increase my speed. notice the egg foam is starting to take shape a little bit. So at that point, I'm gonna add my lemon zest. Okay. And I'm also gonna add my vanilla, which is the time where you add those flavorings. My recipe says 1 teaspoon, okay? So I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And we're gonna mix this until soft peaks. What is that? When I lift the attachment out, the egg whites should basically stand straight up, but still have a soft, like little curve, like almost like a soft wave. If it's stiff peaks, it's gonna stand straight up. But for this recipe, you still want it to be fluid. So we're gonna go with soft peaks, okay? And we're almost there. All right, so I'm going to detach that. And if you notice that like little wave, it almost looks like an ice cream, okay? So that is all set. Now I'm going to add my dry ingredients. And today I have some cake flour. Now, cake flour has less protein and a little bit more starch. And because of that, it actually has less gluten, which is important because when we're making a cake, we want a nice tender cake. We don't want a chewy cake. If you don't have cake flour, no problem. Okay, what you're gonna do is you'll measure 1 cup of your all-purpose flour, take out 2 tablespoons, and then you're going to add in some cornstarch. Okay, so my recipe says 3½ ounces of flour, which is this. It's a little bit less than a cup, okay? So I'm gonna take my flour and I'm also going to add, this is powdered sugar or confectioner's sugar. And I've already sifted it, but we want a nice light consistency, so I'm actually gonna sift it again. And this is a old sifter, in Portuguese it's called a peneira, and I've had this, I can tell you, maybe over 25 years. And it's still in great shape, but it's a very, very fine mesh, which is why I like it. All right, and then I need a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And you notice that my salt is pink. Well, isn't it cute? It just means that it's pink salt. And I like it because it's nice and fine and it's a little bit better than iodized salt, okay? So then I'm just gonna take this and I'm sifting it onto a piece of parchment paper because it's easier to transport and put into my cake, okay? And why are you going through this extra step? Well, the extra step is worth it because when you sift your sugar with your flour, it kind of aerates the flour, it evenly disperses the powdered sugar with the flour. And you'll notice that, look, some of my salt granules didn't go through, but my sifter's totally clean. So I'm just gonna dump that onto my flour. And so that flour is evenly mixed, I'm just gonna mix it with my hand so it's nice and homogeneous, okay? Now we've built this beautiful foam. We don't wanna deflate that. So what we're gonna do is we are gently going to add in our flour by folding it into our mixture. So I'm gonna just take my spatula. And when you fold, you take it and you're turning the bowl, and then your mixing tool is going up and over, up and over, up and over. All right, now I think I should be able to add the rest of my mixture. And I'm just gonna try to sprinkle it in. I don't wanna dump it in because I still want a nice light consistency, okay? Now, two things. When we're making a foam cake, you're not gonna grease your pan. Why? Because the protein's kind of attached to the pan, and then when it comes out, you are going to invert it, and you can just let it cool on a cooling rack like that. Some people invert it onto a funnel or a wine bottle, and that's totally fine too. I'm just gonna do it on a drying rack once it comes out. And then just so you all know, the oven has been preheating downstairs. That was one of the first things that I did, to 325. Again, I'm folding this mixture in because I want it nice and light. I don't want to deflate any of that air. Now, you're going to notice that the leavening is the egg white foam, okay? There's no chemical leaveners. So basically, we trapped that whipped air and the steam provided by the water and the egg yolks, okay? That is going to rise in the oven. And this is all one homogeneous mixture, and it is pourable, which is the goal we were going for. Okay, so that's nice and gorgeous. We're going to put it into our clean tube pan. Oh, and look, I just noticed that there was a little pocket of flour, so I'm just gonna stir that in. And it's nice and pourable and beautiful. And I'm almost there. And then with my spatula, I'm just gonna spread it so it's nice and even, okay? So remember, when you are whipping your egg whites, make sure everything is absolutely clean. You don't want any traces of fat or yolk in your egg whites, or else they will not foam up properly, okay? And this is ready for the oven. All right, so we will come back when it comes out of the oven and it's cooled, and we'll show you what a finished slice looks like. All right, thank you and have a great day. All right, welcome back everybody. So our angel food cake baked for about 15 minutes in the oven at 325. All right, and it cooled upside down. Now, I just went around with a spatula and detached the cake from the pan all the way around, and then at the inner tube part, okay? Now, if you let this cool naturally, you would have a brown, not a brown, you would have a white exterior, okay? But because we detached the cake from the pan, it is brown. And it doesn't matter the color on the outside. What matters is that it's gonna be great on the inside, okay? So, that is our cake. we are going to take it and flip it. I'm gonna do this with my hands, okay? Now we can take a little bit of powdered sugar and put some on the top. And to cut it, we're gonna use a serrated knife, and we're just gonna use a seesaw motion, okay? Now remember, this was basically egg whites, some sugar, some flour, a little bit of flavoring, okay? So it's low fat, it doesn't have any fat in it. And it, for the most part, has a tight crumb. There are some bigger holes. Maybe that's where I didn't mix the flour well enough, okay? Miss Leal is not perfect. So what can we do to dress this up? Well, you can take some pudding, or you can just take some simple berries, okay? Take a few raspberries. If you want, you can take a little bit of chocolate. All right, I don't really think it needs it, but. And then to finish it, if you want a little bit of whipped cream, you can add a little bit of whipped cream right on top. And to give it a little green edge, we're gonna give it a little bit of mint. This is from my garden. It's nice and fresh and beautiful. So there you go. That's your finished angel food cake, and let me try it. It's still warm, it's nice and light, it's nice and airy, and it's just perfect. All right, so try it, tell me, see if you like it, and until next time, I love you, have a great day.